Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here, and this is a market radar going into Friday, May 18th, triple witching and options expiration, and the markets are right now pretty flat day. Just got over a Thursday, but we had a great day, considering everything. Got into a couple good new stocks today. Actually scalped a really nice one called OPHC. Looking to do the same tomorrow on that same one. And we're going to talk about the market conditions right now, see where the markets are on a technical level, and give you two best bets going into next week as I begin my research for the high probability watch list that goes out each weekend to the members of Day Trading Radio. So you get an example. I'll give you one or two examples of the type of setups you get and how they give you the returns here. But first of all, let's go into just the market conditions. The futures just opened up. They're off a little, and probably has to do with applied material coming out and selling off after hours. Looks like they didn't perform well on their earnings. I don't have it in front of me. Either way, the chart tells the story right there. So futures are not that bad, though. You can see right on the screen. The overall look at things, didn't pay too much attention to the futures today. I tried to, but we got sidetracked on some other things, other trades. You can see that the market out of the gate ran up really well, identified some good levels. There was a nice flag, there was a topping pattern, and then we kind of drifted all the way down. 2 o'clock we bottomed out, bounced, chopped around, and this is where we ended up pretty much flat on the pivot area, right near the pivot, the main pivot of the day, which is really our line in the sand for bullish and bearishness. So you can see really pulled away from it, came down to it, broke down underneath this. There was some news out here. There was actually news that I think Trump tweeted out and made a comment about the trade talks not going as well as he expected with China, and the market sold off. And then it came back to the scene of the crime. We talked about this level. We talked about it live on the radio. And by the way, if you're listening to this, basically we're on the radio every single day describing the markets just like this video, live from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock at DayTradingRadio.com. So tune in for the most direct coverage of the markets and trading, live trading too. So we identified that. Then we had a little tradeometer set up, and we talked about this probably being a really good level to pull back because the combination of the indicators we really pay attention to. We had everything here. We even had a small double top divergence between this candle, and this high and this lower high. We had the divergence. We had that divergence, and we had the VWAP, the 200 period moving average. Just a lot of things that are, and probably the 5-minute was overbought here. And came into the last hour and pulled down perfect. Put in a nice divergence right here. I didn't even mention this one to you because it was at the close. But it was a textbook divergence right there in the 9-3 divergence, and a little pop up, and this is how we closed out. So didn't pay too much attention to the futures today, and it makes sense. The market was good range, a nice upside, nice downside, but ended up being pretty flat on the at the end of the day. So tomorrow we have we're going to take a look at the bigger chart here. If I find that other chart I have. Just moving things around here. Alright, so this is one of the setups that just happened to, I was doing some scans, and one of the divergences that popped up, but we're not going to get to that. We're going to get to that next. SPX here. Let's just take a look at the cash chart. And again, I just want to go back to some of the great setups in this market. We've got, the swing trades have been there. The directional side of things have always been there. Clear divergence, divergence, divergence. These three in April, May, and February. 3 bottoming divergences, 3 big moves up. Now we seem to be flagging out. There's still strength in this market. There's still a lot of events out there that make me believe that we're going to continue to drift higher. technically speaking, we've been able to really identify the short-term bounce areas by our trend line retracements, our recognizable patterns, our the patterns that we'd like to trade, and understanding how they play and divergences and everything. We're really able to identify these short-term bounce zones, overbought zones. Very easy. When we talk about the bigger picture, you have this much bigger picture. You can have, you could have some, a nice upward trend and then have a few down days and still stay within that trend. So it's a little bit more difficult on calling each day, but the overall trend seems to be strong. We did break out of this downward channel line, trend line from this big pennant formation, and we kind of flagged out here. Holding the 20-period moving average is a great sign, and the daily's holding up there. The hourly is rotating back down. There's some positives here. And again, tomorrow we're going to have that options expiration. And then next week we start the Labor Day week, or the beginning of summer. And we have a weekend. We have a Labor Day weekend coming up. I think next Monday, not this Monday coming up, but the following Monday. We'll have a shortened week. And then summertime is here. And slowing does tend to dry up a little, the volume, but this market here has a lot of underlying news items that can come out and really move it. So good to be part of this. So basically bullish on the overall big picture, but harder to call at this point. Right now it looks like a nice flag. It looks like a continuation pattern. We'll get through tomorrow. We'll get some good news on this market to really start making it move back up to the highs. The Russell 2000 has led, and a lot of people are thinking that maybe we're going to get a follow through on that. We follow that with the what do we do with that one? IWM, and you can see this breaking out the all-time highs just yesterday, and then today we got a follow through, and volume's actually picking up here too. So you can see there's a kind of a similar pattern playing out. The Russell is actually a little bit stronger. The S&P has that same pennant formation, but it hasn't taken out the highs yet. All right, the highs are way up here. And then we can take a look at the NDX, which is the NASDAQ, and you can see you could probably put in that just a little bit different of a pattern. Here we have that, and then we kind of drop that down here, and it feels, constructive. And either way, it looks like we're going to try to move up. Now, the one other thing is just understanding the big stocks that kind of keeping this market up, especially on the NASDAQ, the big tech stocks, the high market cap, the FANG stocks. Those are really, carrying a big load on this market. And a lot of that is riding on these big stocks. Any of these big stocks, Apple, Facebook, any of the big market cap stocks, Amazon, for any reason, run into any problem, this market could actually get into a big a problem there. There was a huge move in Carver Bancorp today, and it was really a pump. I didn't see any real news, short squeeze. Nothing really out there that really caused this thing to pop, but look at how it popped, man. From $3 to $4. We had a call on it in the thing, and then there was another stock very similar to that that we got into, kind of riding the coattails, the OPHC. So both of these had very similar. The OPHC did not get the big move like the other one did, but we did, make $2 on the trade. That's an amazing trade. Went up through 7, and these type of plays are coming around a little bit more, these pumping type of things. I don't like them too much, but if they're giving us an opportunity to get in before they move and we're able to get a read on them, and we can see the volume, and sometimes you get that follow through volume, we're gonna try to day trade this, be in and out. But remember, I discussed it a lot today, talking about getting that call and sending that call out there. It's all about being in there first and being out of there first. It's not about chasing it. If you find this, lots of times we'll get into something and we'll get into a really good price. What I'll find is a day later, or we might still be in it, but it's up $2 or $3 or up 50%. And then we start to get the people saying, "Is it still okay to get in? Can I get in now?" And it's the hardest thing to say, go ahead and do it, because So look for these, but just don't chase. And we'll see what happens tomorrow on this. I have 100 shares left over. I had 300. And we got $2 on it real fast. Took 200 off, and and then holding 100. And I could have had more shares on this, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of these type of plays, but they are showing up on my screen. I am getting them relayed to me on some occasions, some good ones. It happened with the BLNK earlier this week. And again, nice move from 5 to, I think we got in this one 3 and change, and we took it 6, or we doubled it. Now it's at 8, and again, who knows where that's going to go. That's a charging thing. So we're starting to see these smaller stocks show up on our radar, and start to trade some of those. But going back to the prime time HPS setups, the great HPS setups that you've been seeing here, a lot of interesting setups in the consumer goods section for this next week and coming up. Stocks like Altria, MO, is interesting down here. A lot of divergence is starting to play. We have a low and a lower low and a higher low. So, a dual trend line, X marks the spot. A lot of things looking very interesting down here. Procter & Gamble, same thing. We got that wedge pattern we're trying to break out. So we're liking a lot of these. I'm in these. Some I'm in a little bit higher. Some I'm getting into now. The Harley Davidson too, HOG. We're going to put that on the. That's going to be a new one on the HPS.
YM Tradeometer overbought.
All these have one common denominator. They all have a divergence setting up, and that's the only reason I would be in these turds. Not to say the Harley Davidson is a turd, but this is not a stock that you want to try to capture a bottom on. But when we do recognize a pattern, or the last time we were in this, look, we were back here in September. I remember this trade. We're back in here. We had a nice divergence, had a nice run, then we had a nice sell divergence and a nice pullback. And I haven't looked at it since. Well, maybe we did something over here. I don't know. But this is the first time I'm really starting to see a good divergence. I'm getting it registered there on the divergence mark. It's kind of a double bottom plus a reversal candle. Looks like some momentum here, trying to get through that 42.62 level, and that's where that one stands right now. So I'm going to get that added to the charts. And then we have quite a few that are still active. And let's take a look here. I'll just show you one of my favorites. And I have options also on this one. I have options on this. So this is all I have on this one. June options on this. And this is, again, this is what you get with an HPS, with the HPS setups with the Day Trading Radio membership. You get the all the setups here, the buy triggers, everything that needs to be done on this. Now, this popped very close to getting to our target, and then we kind of pulled back a little. Now it's popped. These things are automatically set up in the system, so when you get an alert, it's because the price hit its buy trigger, and then after that you get a stop or a profit target. Got very close to hitting our profit target. What was the high here? 144.48, and the target was 145. So unless you monitor those and you're waiting for you would have, you're 20 cents away from a target. You could have taken it off there. I have the options. I go out a little bit further. I think we definitely move up into this zone. This is one of my favorites. It was 2 5 to 7 day pullbacks, and then a pop, and then a little retracement. This is by far one of my favorites going forward, and still very active. So that'll probably be one of the best bets for tomorrow. And then the WBT, this is a cheaper one. Beautiful wedge pattern. Everything here looking good. We have a divergence wedge pattern. You see these two squares? Both squares represent two different patterns. The big square represents the wedge pattern, the big wedge pattern. Then you have a tighter wedge pattern with a smaller square. The interesting part about this is they both are in that breakout zone. So remember, when we trade a falling wedge pattern, we look for the wedge pattern to break out 65 to 75% into the pattern. Meaning we have to get through that midpoint and get in between the midpoint and the end of the pattern if you came down all the way to a point. So we're entering that zone. I love this setup here. There was good earnings. It popped up to a trend line, hit it to the penny, pulled back 5 to 7 days, now starting to curl back up, and we should take that out. So these are some really good setups. The other ones I won't mention on this video. Please make your way over to Day Trading Radio. But I'm going to be updating the watch list. But that's two of my best bets going forward. Of course, you would like the VERU here. I'll throw that one out because that's another kind of a cheap spec stock, but it does look pretty good. Coming back strong. and a divergence. You know, what do you see? A nice divergence on a stock that we want to see this thing here. Cancer drug. And just waiting for the good news. All right, so you know where to get those. So we'll see you in the markets tomorrow. I got a little more research to do right now, and I'll catch you in the markets. DayTraderRockStar signing off.